Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. The Swedish heavyweight Otto Wallin has pulled out of his March 28th fight with Lucas Browne, according to Browne himself, who's posted a video to his social media explaining what's happening. Wallin out through injury and an opponent will be found for him. So his fight date going ahead, that's a Showtime card in Las Vegas, March 28th, Lewis Neary headlining. So for Browne, that's a good thing. He doesn't waste his training camp, but his opponent's still TBA, but he says it is close to being actually locked in. So what I'll do is I'll play his clip and then I'll get onto a few thoughts, including I want to just mention that it's coincidental timing for Otto Wallin after the Fury win over Deontay Wilder and Wallin's stock going up. But yeah, I think the skeptical among us will actually ask questions there, but I'll play Lucas Browne right now.
Okay, so the latest news on my fight is that I was informed last night, or early this morning, 1 a.m. this morning, that Otto Wallin is injured and has to pull out of the fight. These things happen, shit happens. Obviously, it's through Showtime and through a very reputable promotion, so there will be a replacement. I believe there is one already. I just don't want to announce it until I have proof that it is him. But it is a great opponent, same record, so that's also good. Same venue, same date, the whole lot for me. So the show goes on, you know what I mean? So 4.5-ish weeks left. I will tell you as soon as I have it all confirmed on who it is. There'll be a new poster and all that sort of shit. But Otto Wallin is out of the fight due to injury at this point in time.
So Lucas Browne, he does seem like he's pretty happy and relieved that his fight is going ahead. All this time and preparation and money, no doubt, he's poured into a training camp. So the fight date going ahead, he's going to get a payday. And actually, I've got to say, of the opponents who I think it's going to be, who I'll outline in a moment, it's probably going to be a better style matchup for him anyway. Let's face it, Otto Wallin versus Lucas Browne, that was a bad style matchup for Lucas Browne. I don't care what anyone says, he was going to pick him apart through his boxing and movement, and Lucas Browne wouldn't have stood a chance in that fight. It was a showcase fight for Otto Wallin. So with it going ahead, still TBA, but he says that it's going to be someone who's got a record similar to Wallin. And that for me can only be one of two guys. The first one, and see here on screen, Jermaine Franklin, so 26-year-old heavyweight, currently 20-0, 13 KOs in 2019, 3 fights, Pavel Sauer, Jerry Forrest, Rydell Booker. So he's an up-and-coming heavyweight. He's sort of past the point where he's a prospect, but he's not really a true contender at this point, even though his promoter, Dimitri Salita. So just step back for a second. So Dimitri Salita promotes Otto Wallin. He also promotes Jermaine Franklin and the other heavyweight I'm going to talk about, which is a recent signing, Abdi Davtayev. I'll come to him shortly, but Franklin first. So 3 fights in 2019. Didn't look stellar in any of them. He got the win. The Jerry Forrest fight, a bit debatable if he won that one. Pavel Sauer, a guy who Filip Hrgović knocked out in a round. He ended up taking Jermaine Franklin to a decision. And Rydell Booker, also some discussion about whether he won that fight. But Lucas Browne is at a level for Jermaine Franklin that I think he could get a win here and potentially a good stoppage, a highlight reel stoppage, which would maybe breathe a bit of life into his career, because at the moment it appears that he's sort of getting to a point where he's about top 50-ish, something like that in the world at the moment, and BoxRec actually has him at number 59, but he's at that level where he's going to start getting to the next step. But as a step-in late notice opponent, this could start his 2020 off in style if he does, go in there, beat up and take out Lucas Browne. It's a bit of a statement of intent for the rest of the year, and then you'd hope to see him in a bigger and better fight. So I could see this working quite well for Jermaine Franklin in terms of he needs a fight, hasn't got one scheduled for 2020 so far, and at short notice, I still think that he can beat Lucas Browne. But it is one of these sort of things. It is a better style matchup for Browne, with Franklin being an orthodox fighter. I think Browne would fancy his chances. If he landed something, he might be able to at least score a knockdown or be in this fight. It's probably going to be more competitive than the Otto Wallin fight would have been. Not because Wallin is a big puncher, just because he was going to box Lucas Browne's socks off. So I think Jermaine Franklin, at short notice for a Showtime card, Franklin's fought all these recent fights, Booker, Forrest and Sauer, on Showtime cards through Salita. I could see him being plugged in here. And the other guy is Abdi Davtaev. So similar record as well to Jermaine Franklin. So Franklin, I don't think I said his record. Yeah, no, I did. 20-0. Abdi Davtaev also 20-0, but with one draw. He's actually already been wheeled out a couple of times this year. So he's a recent signing to Dimitri Salita. He's had two fights. The first was in January against Keith Barr, journeyman. And the second fight just a few days ago against a guy called John Napari. So Napari was 21-0, but very obscure heavyweight. So he is 30 years old, Davtaev. He's Russian, 20-0 with one draw. He's the world number 132. So when you contrast his record with Franklin, and Franklin has not been fighting, killers in the division, but at least he's taken some of those step-up fights where you can start to get a bit of a gauge of his level. Davtaev, when in comparison, is a much lower ranking, 132. So that speaks to the quality of the opposition. So in effect, Lucas Browne, if they were to bring in Abdi Davtaev for March 28th, and given his fights were over pretty early with Keith Barr and also John Napari, I think, that could end up being a good step up and test for Abdi Davtaev. And given he's a bit of an unknown commodity, I mean, who knows how good he really is, this could be a good fight for him. But also Lucas Browne may fancy his chances and go, well, this guy really hasn't fought anyone yet. Sure, there's a few journeymen there like Keith Barr and Daniel Martz, but not much else. So I think he would actually like his chances against this guy, who is clearly looking to advance his cause in the heavyweight division. He's fighting regularly under Salita. So if he is fit and healthy after beating John Napari in a couple of rounds, we could actually well see him wheeled out again at short notice in Las Vegas on March the 28th. And he's already in shape, so it wouldn't need to be a huge camp, because he's been in camp basically continuously for the past couple of months. The likelihood, more likely, I think, for Franklin. But I wouldn't rule out Abdi Davtaev. I think it probably comes down to who takes the deal. But given both are promoted by Salita, it's going to be one of these two guys, I believe. And Browne, I think his chances against these guys, I think he will most likely lose to both, but I think his chances are definitely better than if it had have been Otto Wallin. Not because Wallin's a massive puncher or anything like that, just because he's a much better boxer, I believe, than Franklin and Davtaev, and is actually more proven in the heavyweight division. We've got more of a gauge on his level and skills, as opposed to Jermaine Franklin, who, he seems decent, but he really hasn't shown us if he can take that next step. Davtaev, he's a bit more of an unknown quantity, but Lucas Browne, he does seem relieved that his fight is still on. He says it's his dream to fight in Las Vegas and that sort of thing. There was almost the sense in a clip which I posted to my backup channel, 99 Boxing, and if you go over there, you'll be able to find it pretty quickly. There was almost the sense that he was almost, written himself off in terms of, he wanted people more to sort of say, hey, give it a go. That's great, you're fighting in Las Vegas, rather than you're going to win this fight. There was just the way that he was couching it, sort of, did he really expect to win the fight with Otto Wallin? But I think against Franklin and Davtaev, he stands a better chance, and I'm pretty convinced it's going to be one of those two, given they are sort of at that level where they can be plugged in at a moment's notice. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.